Aloha, everyone. As you can see, we are live all together here at the Westin Buckhead, Atlanta, for Ranger Stop and Pop Atlanta that is kicking off starting tomorrow here in Atlanta. So for our 7 o'clock episode, of course, you are used to on the last Thursday of the month that we have Shae Reigns, MSW, with us. And usually you see three separate little screens and everything. Today, all of us today, we're all here together. So, for those that are joining us for the first time and don't know who we are, let us introduce yourselves. I am Dana. I am a cosplay, an event, and con staff photographer. You see my photography with Dragon Con, MomoCon, Anime Week in Atlanta, and DC Comics. I'm a voice actor, event planner, and a whole lot more. And now I'm going to hand it over to the co-hoster, the founder of this podcast, the ace boom coom, the you know,
It's your girl.
Head chicken charge.
exactly the yin to my yang, the lovely, the beautiful Moana.
I know.
Like, wait.
She's in this direction.
Pardon us, y'all. We've been working all day, so
Yes.
we're a little tired. But aloha, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode. It is great to be here in Atlanta, here at Ranger Stop and Pop. So if you are in the Atlanta area, be sure to stop on by this weekend. We have a lot in store tonight and tomorrow. I would say tomorrow, so that the con starts, and throughout the weekend. Oh, take my tag? Yeah, help a girl out, help stuff. But yes, so for those of you who are not familiar with me, I am an author of the children's book series, The Adventures of Nakoa and Him, editor and what do you call it? Publisher of the Wild Card Chronicles comic book series. Lord have mercy, my brain is failing. And yeah, host of the podcast and champion of our lovely community. But yes, so for those of y'all who have not met Miss Shae yet, here she is in all her wonderful, looking so fly in her red. I'm like, that is your color.
Yes, exactly. Here we are, all sweaty and from helping to set up the con and everything. We got listening. We in our t-shirt and jeans, and Moana's in her, tank top and shorts.
Real Hawaiian, right? Real Hawaiian.
I have my comfort of my sneakers.
I just I have this thing where when I have to act like a therapist, I try to actually sort of kind of look like one.
Okay.
And it's funny because some of my clients will be like, "Yeah, I'm just like that." When listen, sometimes you just gotta
let it breathe.
Yeah.
Look a little bit more professional than others. But it's all about the uniform, so to speak. So that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Today is a serious conversation.
Yes.
So I wanted to make sure that I treated it as such.
Exactly. Yes. So for those that may or may not know, Shae, she is a therapist that we have had on our show since June. On the last Thursday of every month at 7 p.m., we talk about various topics that impact the BIPOC community. And we want, of course, today's topic is one that a lot of people tend to overlook, tend to not take serious for their loved ones, especially in the Black and Indigenous and on themselves. We often discount it as being other things instead of what it truly is, depression. So we want to help you understand what depression is, how you can identify it within yourself, because a lot of times we can see it in others, but not in ourselves, and what things we can do to help those loved ones around ourselves, and even helping ourselves to get through those patches, because depression could start off really light and something that you may not think of anything, but then it can go really deep and we've heard so many stories over the years with celebrities and others that we have lost because they lost their battle to depression. So we want to make sure you all know these key things so that way you can be able to navigate yourselves and your spaces better. So, of course, you know, y'all can tell we got everybody preparing for Range Stop and Pop. So, just ignore the background. Just focus on us three. Okay.
Yeah, pardon the noise.
Exactly. So,
Ignore the people that aren't behind the curtain.
exactly.
There is no curtain.
Exactly. So, Shay, help everybody understand. Can you give everybody understanding of what is depression?
It's so funny. I was prepared for this question, and then you asked me, and I'm just like, gosh, what is depression? But depression really is, on a really simple, basic level, just a really deep sadness that can be situational or chemical, and it basically leaves you in a state where you can't, or where your ability to control, modulate, uh, moderate your emotions is gone.
Yeah.
A lot of times it comes out, especially for like kids, it comes out looking like anger. It comes out looking like misbehavior. And I'm talking about kids right now because it was a situation was brought to my attention by a client of mine having to do with a kid who is clearly going through depression and isn't currently able to get what she needs. And the way how it's showing, and mind you, this is my client who I've been working with now, who's now telling me this must be what it is. And I'm like, oh, good, I'm doing my job. Right? Because she can recognize it in someone else.
Yes.
And she's like, I don't know what to do because I want to help, but how am I supposed to help her when I'm in therapy myself? I'm just like, this is another kid who wants to help another kid. And what a lot of people would think when it comes to kids is, oh, she's just acting bad, or she's acting out, or she's being fast, or whatever the case may be. But this is depression. These are cries for help, and that's how it comes out when it's kids. Well, one of the many ways it can come out when it's kids. When it's adults, it can come out in the form of overworking. It can come in the form of missing sleep. It can come in the form of sleeping a lot. It can come in the form of not eating. It can come in the form of eating a lot. It can come in any form when it comes down to a human being trying to, I don't like to use the word fix, but in this particular case, they're trying to fix something they can feel is wrong. And in my practice, I like to start out always by saying there's nothing wrong with me. I think when we can start there, it makes it a lot easier to actually look for help.
Right. Yes.
So depression can look like a lot of different things for a lot of different people. And when you're looking at yourself, the objective is to start out with, okay, there's really nothing wrong with me, but I feel. Recognizing how you feel and being able to put a name on your feelings is one of those really hard things to do for people. For example, how are you feeling right now, ladies?
Feeling great.
Great. Feeling great?
Yes.
Okay.
Got a little sweat on, got a little parched because of the humidity here. But you're surrounded by greatness. So
great an emotion?
No.
If I had to say an emotion, I would say a little tired.
Okay.
Emotion?
That's also a state of being.
I guess so.
And this is what I mean. So we learn how to communicate in terms of states of being, but not necessarily in terms of our actual emotion.
Ah, okay.
Mental health clinics, you will actually go in there and they'll have like a wall of emojis. Usually they use that for kids.
Yeah.
But I use it for adults too.
Point to which one.
Right? Which one seems like or which combination of? Because that's another thing. Trying to just say it's definitely that thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is also hard because if you are, let's say, for example, experiencing a deep sadness in one moment, but in the next moment you feel fully functional and you're out there running the world like we tend to do.
Yes.
It's like, I'm not depressed. I just had a moment, right? And that may be true. But when that moment is over, where are you? What are you feeling?
Yeah.
Are you still great? Are you still tired? Or are you exhausted? Are you ready to completely let me turn off all the lights, I'm gonna crawl into this bed, and if anybody tries to touch or contact me, I might just, there we go, okay? And that doesn't necessarily diminish that moment of greatness. But you might still be depressed. Okay? And that's the thing. Being able to recognize that you're allowed to have a few happy moments or a few great moments or just be tired and be depressed. Right? It's like, especially in my pop community, we talk about get you a chick to give you both. Right? It's a weird part to actually mention it in. But what I'm saying is be someone who can recognize, okay, I'm highly functional right now, but in about 10 minutes,
it's about to crash.
It might be time for me to call a therapist. So that's what depression can be. And if when in doubt, get therapy.
Exactly.
Can't stress that out.
Exactly.
If you are breathing, get therapy. Why not?
Now, often, as I said earlier in the introduction, that a lot of people, we can notice with others when they're going into a deep sadness, which we are like, oh, I think they're falling into depression. But we won't notice when it's happening with our own self. What are signs that we can look for that can be keys to ourselves to let us know maybe I'm slipping into depression because I'm diving myself into work for then focusing on this? Am I doing certain activities that I normally wouldn't do when I am happy or around people I like? What things can be signs that people can start turning that light bulb on and say, I may need to make a call.
Again, it can be anything.
Yeah.
So 2 things. Usually I like to work in 3, but really it's just 2 this time. 2 things. Are you wearing a mask? So are you faking it?
And not this
one. No, not that. So, she's like, yes. Your proverbial mask. So are you walking out the door, putting on your fake face, putting on your strong face, putting on your battle face, whatever that is? Are you faking it? And the only person who can really tell when you're faking it technically is you.
Yeah.
Sometimes your friends can say that's a little over. Like the saying is doth she or doth he, doth they protest too much? Yes, they do. Or yes, they don't. Right? So are you faking it? If you find yourself faking it, faking it to make it, so to speak.
Yeah.
You're just not being your genuine self. You are lying to the world about your mood. You're lying to yourself about what, or not yourself, but to the world about whatever in order to make it through the day. You might be.
Yes.
And number 2, your environment. So this can go either way. One of the major indicators that we use in terms of like if we're looking or going to like a home setting, is we check the environment.
Yeah.
You know, if the so if I'm visiting a family, let's say, and you know someone's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry about this mess," you know, it just, you know, blah 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 blah, whatever the excuse is, and there's someone else in the home, I'm looking through my periphery to see what their reaction is. The person in the periphery who's like, "It's always like this,"
Yeah.
that's your indication of this might be a situation.
Yeah.
And then there's the extreme uber cleanliness. Because again, masks. Now some people, when they get into a mood, when they feel some type of way, they just clean obsessively. This is their way of coping.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm not saying that having a clean home is instantly an indication of whatever, but if you are usually at least slightly disorganized, like if you look at your desk and there's usually like a little something on there because you've been working and you've got, you know, a folder and maybe you know, some stuff on your desk, or your dresser has, you know, whatever it is that people have in their dressers these days. You know, you usually have at least one or two dishes in the sink or something like that. But now all of a sudden when you come home, it's like, I have to make this pristine. Like if that's something that usually wouldn't necessarily bother you too much, but today it's just like, this is too much. Your usual one cup, your usual one something is too much, like over the top, out of whatever organization you may usually have, whatever the case may be. That can totally be a sign. Because again, it's kind of like a mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, you are maybe, you know, not blanket statementing anybody, but you might be using your environment to shield yourself from your emotional reality.
Right. It's like your way of exerting control in a small piece of
Exactly.
sanity that you have left.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's something like that. So it can be, like I said, it can kind of go either way, but what you're really just looking for is the extremes of, this is not normally my thing, and this is what it is. So if your environment is abnormal for you, that can also be a great indicator.
Yes.
Man folk, not to say that women folk don't do the same thing. I know I do the same thing, because I don't know. But your car, okay? If you have a car and you are usually meticulous about your car, and you walk out there right now and your back seat looks like there might be bodies buried under your weeks, days of whatever it is you got going on in there, that can be an indicator.
Right.
Because man folk, not for nothing, not all man folk really care that much about the inside of their homes, but their cars,
Yes.
a lot of times is sacred space.
Yes.
If you are usually a filthy person in your car, this doesn't apply to you. But if you aren't, and your car, either your back seat, your trunk, your passenger side, whatever part, you don't have to sit in. If the only part you can manage to maintain is your little part where you're driving, there you go.
There you go.
So man folk, that is another good indicator. Environmental indicators are really important because, like I said, when it comes to your physical person, sometimes you're just not going to see it. You are too busy trying to ignore whatever it is so you can function every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, I remember when I was dealing with my dad's death, you know, and just coping, I was like, my house was filthy, you know, like, I mean, not filthy, but it was messy, and that's not
Messier
like
than
me.
you.
I was just like putting on my face to go and deal with work for 9 to 5, like acting like I was okay. And then I come home and I just throw a blanket over my head, like I'm not engaging with anybody. I'm over here, and I don't know. I'm just trying not to
You
cry.
accidentally lose your phone.
Yeah.
Accidentally
Yeah.
lose your phone wherever. Like, it was. I left it on silent. I left it in the bathroom. It was in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Accidentally.
Yes, Legend Storm TV says, what's happening, Dana Moana? As someone who suffers from clinical depression, is it normal for one to not clean a room despite having the need to do so?
Okay, so let me be really specific. This is something I tell my clients. Need is such a strong word. Such a strong word. You don't have to do anything. You don't need to do anything except for maybe eat, poop, and die.
Mm-hmm. And breathe.
Breathing is also one of those important things. You don't need to do anything. Okay? If you are suffering from clinical depression and you feel like you need to do something and you can't get yourself to do it, that is definitely a good indicator of your depression. So it's one of those things, you know, you look at the room, it's like, I should really clean this. I don't want this to be this messy. I need some organization in my life. Whatever the messaging in your head is, like, I would feel better if. Yeah. Especially if that is the thought process that's in your head. I might feel better if, and you can't get yourself to do whatever that if is. That is also a good indicator of that. And yeah, it's normal.
Okay. Now, you kind of tapped into it, which a lot of people here, when they go into the workforce, and you often hear management or leadership saying, leave your drama, whatever you have going on, at the door. And you're constantly hearing it, like within corporate America, everything else. And then you start, of course, you have to apply these masks, but because of these masks, a lot of people can't tell when they slip themselves into depression or just hiding what they were dealing with at home before they came to the door. How can a lot of people have that dialogue with their leaders to let them know they're not bringing their best self into work that day, and they may be teetering into that form of depression?
So technically this is the personal plug, but it's this is one of the reasons why I started my company, Do More Require Better LLC, because that is a problem in corporate America. That is a problem even in, you know, the public sector when it comes to actually public health organizations or mental health organizations. It is a problem where it's like your humanity is unimportant because we have these numbers to get.
Right.
Your situation is irrelevant because this money, though. That messaging is so damaging on so many levels, and it's one of the reasons why we're having the kinds of issues that we're having on a global scale right now.
Yes.
In general, and I can at this moment only speak for this country here, you know, we spend roughly, I'll say, 20 hours a day working, preparing for work, and recuperating from work. We got maybe 2 hours, and during those 2 hours, we're sleeping. And mind you, I said 20. I said 2 hours where we're not doing those three things. The other 2 hours, we might still be sleeping, but our subconscious is still dealing with those three things. So we got maybe roughly 2 hours of, and our places of business, because it's not necessarily even just our employers. This is also sometimes our friends. It's, listen, we came out for a good time, leave your depression at home.
Yeah.
Or, listen, I need you to help me deal with my depression, so put your depression on the side.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not just that, but when it comes down to it, doing this human thing, it's work.
Yes.
All right. It's so important to approach things from what we call a trauma-informed perspective. And so that is one of those things that I actually kind of specialize in, so to speak, to point out, hey, listen, corporate person number 5. Obviously, I wouldn't necessarily use this language, but here, don't be an asshole every day.
Right.
Try not to do that, because you too are a human being, and last time I checked, you have feelings that are probably relevant to you. Now, granted, you probably can't say that to your manager, but you can say to your manager, I need a moment to be human.
Yes.
Right.
I need a day to be human.
Mental health day.
And
I
you
even
need
go.
to not, feel afraid to say, I need a mental health day. And let me give you guys a secret. So bring it in close. Let me give you guys a secret. Depression, anxiety, and pretty much every mental health issue on the spectrum is covered in the Disabilities Act. So if you tell your manager, if you tell your corporate boss, I am having a mental health situation, I need a personal day to handle this mental health situation, and they fire you, you can call your local ADA, American with Disabilities Act representative. You can call your HR person. You can call whoever and say, I made it a specific point to note to such and such a person, and now they are threatening me. They are threatening my job because I'm trying to manage my mental health so that it doesn't make my work suffer. These are things that are covered in the American with Disabilities Act. Do not let the corporate world scare you out of taking care of yourself.
Yes.
Take your personal day, take your vacations, use your time off. And really what needs to switch is when you leave work at work.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Like, you punch that clock, you hit that door, you get into your motor vehicle or into your public, whatever that is, you are done. It is now time for you to do you. And I know that's hard.
So, with that in mind, how would you what are some ways that people could create that barrier or that that boundary, given that now a lot of people are working at home and you're working in the space that's typically your own relaxation space. How do
A lot of people, we're constantly hearing these reports of people are working harder and longer now since they're working remotely because of the pandemic, that they're not having that, like when you're at work, all right, my day ends at 5, I'm clocking out, I'm going home. The people are already at home, so they're not doing that cut like they would if they were physically in the office.
This is a hard one. Go take a walk.
Oh, that's a good one.
Go take a drive. Go play a game. Go talk to somebody. Make a clear break from your workday. Do not sit in the same spot that you were just at your laptop or whatever, doing whatever it is that you do for work. Do not sit there and then just, turn on the TV. Get up, do something different. Go take a shower. Literally wash your work off.
Yeah.
Wash it off.
Wash the work off.
It is okay to take multiple showers in a day.
It feels lovely.
Yes.
Okay. Especially
despite what you're hearing some of the celebrities saying.
Oh
yourself.
Goodness. Listen.
Which is also a sign of depression.
Yes.
It really is. Listen. I got several soapboxes when it comes to that whole thing because it's like triggering for me. I'm just like, I'm sorry, what? Are you saying this to people out loud? like for real?
You're saying you only clean until you see dirt on you?
And what are you doing that you actually can see dirt on you? Like, are you out there gardening? Because if you're gardening, I can understand. But if you're just sitting in your house working from home, why can we see dirt? Why is there dirt?
And then how long did it take to build up that dirt?
Right.
That's nasty.
Yes.
This is why some of y'all, I am non-religious, But there are some things where I'm just like, listen, cleanliness is next to godliness.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be close to God, please wash your ass.
Exactly. And a lot of y'all highly religious.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, JB.
JD was saying my boss won't let me leave my seat when I work. She says the rent ain't going to pay itself.
Oh, okay. Can the rent pay itself when you're dead?
Right?
I don't mean to be that extreme, but let me put it in that kind of an extreme situation. The suicide rates have gone up considerably
Mm-hmm.
in the last several years. And in this last 2 years, it's even worse.
Yes.
I cannot stress enough how important it is to be able to, I hate this term because it means something now that it shouldn't, but you need to stand your ground.
Mhm.
Okay? If you have to get up, first of all, sitting in any one spot for too long is a great way to end up with all kinds of actual physical illness.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's bad for your circulation. You can actually like get what is it, deep vein thrombosis and
Thrombosis, yes.
things like that from sitting in the same position for too long.
Yes.
If your boss is telling me, oh, you can't leave your seat because the rent isn't going to pay itself, whose rent are we talking about? Hers or yours?
Yes.
Bam.
And then on top of that, I know it is not in every state law,
I
but
was
a
just
lot
gonna
of
go
them
there.
within the labor department, you're
to have a
required.
boss.
You're
I mean,
required every
a
2 hours
break.
of 15-minute break
Yes.
if you are a full-time employee.
Yes.
And then you're supposed to have, whether it's paid or unpaid, lunch break halfway through it.
Mhm. That's right.
He
But-
says, but if I stand my ground and piss her off, I'll be sleeping on the couch.
Well, then I would say right then that's when you go to your HR or
Thank you.
whatever, whoever is
And
your-
go above her.
Yes, because they're, as your manager, they are required to uphold the laws for whatever company, because the company can come under litigation
Yes,
for
and
not
they
supporting their employees.
Mhm.
Yes.
And they can get fined heavily for things like that. On top of that, a lot of companies, and I can't say all of them, have anonymous numbers that if you
Mhm.
feel that it's going to be a threat or somebody's going to retaliate, because a lot of companies have anti-retaliation laws
Yep.
and policies. Report it to your anonymous number and say, hey, I'm getting this from my boss. I am in fear of retaliation. They will handle it from there because it'll keep your name out and start looking at, hey, we're noticing based on times of these people working, they're not taking breaks. That's against the law.
Mhm.
You're going to get us fined. There's 30 people, some leaders have like 100 people on team. That's, if the fine is $5,000 per person per incident for one leader, yeah, that corporation will be looking at that leader like, you're not messing up our money like that.
It's called a liability.
Yes.
Yes.
Hmm.
Don't let them intimidate you like that.
Exactly.
That's another part of
And let me also, just because I'm looking at word usage here, when we're talking about things that we have to do in terms of dealing with being at home, sometimes the boss can be not so literal. Sometimes the boss is your significant other. Sometimes the boss is a very small child. Sometimes the boss is an individual for whom you basically live to serve. And I can understand that. If your boss, let's say for example, is a 2-year-old, and your 2-year-old is requiring you for whatever reason to I don't know, play T or whatever it is 2-year-olds play. I have no idea. But terrible twos are a thing, and they are a thing. It's like literally the turn 2, and all of a sudden, that is the day that they decide to choose violence.
Yeah. And don't think it ends at 3, because it's
Right,
a T
no.
for a reason.
Yeah,
It
right.
goes right into through 3s until you get
And
4.
sometimes, yeah, I was gonna say until you get to 4. I remember that. So sometimes the boss isn't a corporate boss,
Mm-hmm.
and in those cases, you still have to stand your ground,
Yes.
tell your terrible 2-year-old, parental unit, grandma, grandpa, big sister, big godmother, whatever the case may be, needs a break.
Yes.
So we're going to have, I don't know, 5 minutes of quiet time, which is hard.
Mhm.
That 5 minutes will seem like an eternity to that 2-year-old.
Yeah.
It'll be like, is it 5 minutes yet? That's one of the things, I forget what school started it. Anyway, some school some time ago actually started doing yoga and meditation with
Yeah,
kids.
yeah.
It's so important to actually start doing that kind of thing with them, even at that age, because that way it also gives you an opportunity to take a break because they can recognize, oh, we were doing this in school today. Or, since a lot of kids aren't going to physical school anymore, you can institute that in your own home.
Mhm.
If it is your significant other who is the boss, listen here, significant other. I love you. I appreciate you. I understand that we have this thing that we have to do together. In order for this to work for both of us, I have to be able to continue functioning.
Right.
I can sleep on the couch, but you know what? That might actually be the best sleep that you get because it means you'll get a moment of relaxation to yourself.
Yeah.
It is so important. I've seen some memes recently where I guess significant others are having a serious issue since the pandemic, being emotionally literate.
Yeah.
And people are having to do things like lie to their significant other about time off that they're getting so that while they are supposed to be at work, they can actually just be doing relaxation kinds of things to take time off from home while still being at home. I mean, it's not funny, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
And so these are those kinds of conversations you have to be able to have with your significant other, regardless of where in the spectrum you are. If it is your significant other, then they're supposed to actually also care about your physical and emotional well-being too.
Right.
If you're not working together in that kind of way, then you need to have another kind of conversation.
Yeah.
Come to Jesus.
Yes. Couple counseling.
See, if you're breathing,
Get there. Now, of course, we're hearing a lot, and it's becoming more on another form of depression. We hear constantly about women experiencing postnatal depression, and a lot of people don't quite have a grasp on how much of a toll that's taking on a newly made mother going through that, and why all of a sudden, this joyous occasion, why is she depressed?
Right.
okay, I will take it out of all of the simple clinical or hormones, yada, yada, yada. Imagine you have a backpack. You wear this backpack every single day. Right? It's there. You've got the grooves in your shoulders. You know what it feels like. You know exactly what's in there. And if something is off in there, you can feel that because you wear that backpack every day.
Yeah.
Now imagine someone took it. What do you feel?
You can tell it's missing, and then even though it's missing, you have that sensation like it was there, but then you realize it's gone.
And what about all the stuff that was in it?
That's going to affect you mentally because it's like, oh, if it had any significant importance to you, if it had monetary value to you, if it was a keepsake that you gotten from a relative, then you're going through all these thoughts and emotions because all this stuff is missing, and some of that stuff is irreplaceable.
Good word, irreplaceable. Now let's put it in reality. This is a human being who carried another human being with them every day for, let's call it, 9 months. Matter of fact, we don't even have to call it 9 months. They carried this for 5 months. Every day. Not just they carried it with them, it was there. Every moment of every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, this being was growing within them. It was a part of them, literally. When they ate, this being was being nourished. When they were feeling sick, that being was being sick right there with them. When they were sleeping, that person was in there with them. And then they gave birth. So it's basically like this thing, this being, has been taken from them. Right? This is real simplistic. I'm not even getting into all of the other chemical imbalances and all that kind of stuff. I'm just trying to make it as relatable as possible.
Yeah.
You were worried about the backpack, where the things inside the backpack might be irreplaceable.
Yeah.
Which, to a certain extent, there are very few things that are actually irreplaceable in this world, aside from a human life.
Yeah.
And that was taken. Yes, it's a great thing that they got to give birth and yada, 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 so forth and so on. But it's still a connected thing that is no longer there. It is still an ever-present thing that they connected with for all of this time. And now it's not there anymore. How would you feel?
Yeah.
Personally, I've never been through the whole birthing thing. I consider it one of those really super special, like, put your cape on, you made it kind of situations to me, because I'm just like, homie, I'd be worried about my backpack.
You're right.
I'd be worried about my backpack. You know, I set my purse down in a place for too long. My brain is constantly like,
Yeah.
that's a whole entire life that you connected with, that you created, that you nourished.
Yeah.
Okay? Emotional stuff, actual, this is your child, all of that notwithstanding, this is a thing that was in you that you helped create for a very long period of time. There's a detachment there that can be really, really unhealthy. The way how it happens sometimes can be very traumatic. You know, the birthing process can be intensely painful. From what I hear, one of the most painful things that any human being can ever experience.
And for some reason, it's so painful you forget about it. After a while,
there's a cognitive dissonance that happens, and it's just like, oh, it's just so wonderful. I think I'll do it again.
Yes.
And the rest of us are like, I don't know if you can see how wide my eyes just got, but that's what I'm like. You want to do it again?
JD said, creepy. I'm never gonna have a carry a baby now.
I'm just saying, it can be really traumatic to lose that connection.
Yeah.
We have those kinds of issues with friends. You go a couple months without speaking to a friend who you're used to talking to every day, and you might feel some type of way.
Yeah.
And we're expecting these women to just be able to lose that physical connection and be all right, even though, yes, they have the physical now being there, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
There's literally an empty space there.
Yeah.
Not figuratively. There's literally an empty space where a tiny person used to be.
JD says, true.
See?
I freak out when I lose internet connection.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. It's relatable.
Yeah.
It's something that's dear to you. It's kind of also like, it's for people for me, a way I try to explain to people is like when you hear people who lose a limb and they have that ghost feeling, phantom feeling. It's the same because they're so used to that being there, and then all of a sudden it's gone. And that's how those women feel, because whether that baby's there, it could be your sleep or just that sensation, forgetting that child is there for a moment. It's like,
right. That, where you roll over and you're expecting to be stopped by belly and it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, what happened?
Right.
It can be really traumatic. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that every woman is supposed to go through this kind of disconnection or whatever the case may be, but when you have a propensity for those kinds of situations, the best thing that the rest of us human beings out here can do is not be an asshole every day. I can't stress that part enough. Making or trying to assert that other people should feel the way you feel because you did something a certain way is problematic at best.
Yes.
We are all living completely different lives and completely different existences with completely different sets of situations.
Mhm.
And if we can't recognize that somebody else's situation is going to be different from someone else's, and how it is that they handle, manage, or surmount whatever that situation is, that is their individual experience, and they're entitled to that.
Mm-hmm.
All we're supposed to do is understand and cheer them on when they need it.
Yes.
That's really our job here as human beings. Being each other's cheerleaders and support systems is like one of the best jobs that we can have, and it doesn't cost anything.
Yes, thank you.
Hey, you look great today.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Y'all did great today doing the setup. You look
Thank you.
great today, ladies.
Thank you.
Look, I did that for free.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Her makeup is on point.
Yes.
I mean,
I'm
God,
like,
my
I'm
gosh.
looking, I'm like,
It's like we had Beyonce. She walked past me. I didn't know she walked past me. And then I looked and I was like, wait, I think that's her. I think that's her. Hold on. Let me go catch her.
It's been a minute since we've seen you.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
And the mask. It's got
Right.
to hide everybody too.
Right. But yeah, it doesn't cost anything to be someone else's cheerleader
Yes.
unless you're going through your own thing.
yes.
And then it doesn't cost anything to ask someone else to be
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of times that seems to be the hardest things for people to do is ask for that help.
Mhm.
Because especially for men, you're being told that you have to, both men and also BIPOC women, it's like you're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to, let it roll off your back. You have to,
Never
you
let
know,
until you sweat.
exactly. You just supposed to ball it up and keep it going. Let's see, another thing I've always heard was you put it into your work. Put those emotions into your work.
Mm-hmm. Which
And
we're really not allowed to do apparently because you got to leave your emotions at home.
You're right. Right. So,
so
what
you
am I
got that
supposed to do
conflicting
with it?
answer.
Yes. Like the double
Exactly.
Yes,
standard.
100% a double-edged sword. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly.
Until
Mikey.
you decide to talk to somebody,
Mm-hmm.
get you some mental health,
Yes.
get you a cheerleader,
Yes.
meditate, tell your 2-year-old to go have a seat, like whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
when you decide to make you your priority, because you know that nothing else is possible in your life. Literally, nothing in your life is possible if you're not okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I'm glad you brought that up because my sister and I, it's been years now, but that was like something that she kind of had to come to terms with herself, is like having the conversations with both her kids and her significant other, that like, I bring myself, I do this, I'm a super mom and all of that, but I still need time for myself. And how can we carve that out of our schedules? Maybe that means husband, wife, whoever, whatever it is, your significant other. Can you step up for like an hour because I need to go to the gym, or I need to go take a walk, or just whatever it is that
Or I need
like,
to be alone in my room and do absolutely
exactly. My sister does that all the time. Close the door. Don't come in.
And you hear people all the time saying how they, moms will lock themselves in the
Yes.
bathroom, like, I'm using the bathroom. You've been in there for an hour. I'm using the bathroom. Leave me
nothing. Sometimes the
alone.
bathroom just isn't even a safe place.
Yes.
You got the cat going,
Exactly, with the little paw under the door, or the dog
let me in.
whining at the
Whining.
door. Like, why are you like, y'all?
You have the entire house. Why?
What do you need me for right now?
Exactly.
Or
My scent is in the bedroom. Go.
Yeah.
right, go nuzzle a pillow or something.
Yeah.
It's so interesting when it comes to human beings and how it is that we exhibit our needs. We are a needy bunch. Okay? We are a needy bunch. And again, we're still talking about depression, mind you, and it comes through in so many different ways. I really want to stress, no, that's the wrong word, because stress and depression are really together. So let's not use the word stress. I really want to impress upon you the importance of self-care and also your community.
Yes. Yes.
It's so important to be able to say to your significant other, say to your kids, because in one of our many talks that we've done over the last couple, we were talking about how it is that our trauma, our stress hormones, and all of those things are passed on in utero.
Yes.
And so we teach our kids, even before we actually start to actually meet our kids, how it is to deal with stress. But it doesn't have to be a terminal situation.
Yes.
So when they get here, you have the option of actually saying, okay, this is how I was dealing with stress before, but this is how I want you to see me deal with stress. And so, hey, tiny person, we're going to meditate. Hey, grown human being, we're going to meditate, or I need a minute. As a matter of fact, I'll take this moment, or you take this moment, and then I'll take the next moment. Because taking turns is important.
Yes.
Okay? It's not just moms need time. It's not just dads need time. It's everybody needs time.
Yes.
You have no idea until you actually try. And I don't like to use the word try, but sometimes it's just a try. It's a thing that doesn't exist. It's a thing that happens but doesn't happen.
Yeah.
To actually have a conversation with a small child who is under stress. Especially as adults, we're like, what do you have to stress about? You eat, you pee, you poop. Sometimes you go to school. If you get sick, I get to, like, what are you stressed about? They are stressed. Okay?
Yes.
Kids today are stressed. Kids today, especially going through this this pandemic right now, they're not seeing, their friends. They're not getting to spend time with grandparents or family as much anymore. They're not getting to interact the way how they were. And those kids who were born into this are getting to experience you under stress all the time.
Yes.
They're getting to experience you in depression all the time.
Yes.
You think that doesn't rub off? You think that because all you do is you smile and you give them, the meal and whatever it is that's required at the time, that they don't recognize this is not an okay situation.
Yes.
Kids recognize when things aren't okay. They might not have a word for it.
Yes.
We might need the chart of smileys for them.
Yeah.
But they know stuff isn't okay. They might not even be able to say which face on there it is, but they can say it's not okay.
Yes. And definitely having that conversation, because I've learned from several of my friends and stuff, like how many kids have developed a form of depression and develop social anxiety because of the environment at home, and then when they go into the public, they don't know how to deal with it, and they develop this social anxiety. And I've had several people I find out from their from their parents. It's like, my kids actually broke down and was like, they end up expressing the anxiety and the depression, and it blows their mind. And it's like, yes, this is also a generation that's learned how to speak about their feelings, compared to our generation. Older generations were told to keep it ourselves, and they have been learning that I need to say something. Now we have to be receptive to it, because I have seen people that are like, what you mean anxiety? What anxiety do you have? Go play outside. But that makes them freak out even more.
Right.
And then you're not being included in the conversation.
Process. Exactly. And let's see, JD brought up, he says, I am going to take your advice and tell my boss that her stress about her empty baby incubator is messing with my hormones.
Your delivery is on point.
Jamie, you a mess.
Delivery is on point. Hopefully that is not how you communicate that particular message. Do not choose violence on that day, because that would be what those words suggest. Use I statements. Okay?
Yes.
I statements.
Get an emoji chart and point at where you are.
I feel this way because, not I feel this way when you. That's do not choose violence on
exactly.
that. If you don't want to sleep on the couch or be jobless, I strongly suggest do not choose violence.
Exactly.
Them's theirs fighting me.
Exactly. Now, of course, I tapped in about children, and a lot of people, like you mentioned earlier, don't feel that children are going through this, but don't realize they're taking so much from their home life, and then they're going into, especially
getting pushed to go to school all of a sudden when they've been at home all this time. So then there's the additional anxiety, depression of being away from home, that secure nest that they had and everything, and they don't know how to process these feelings. What can you say to the parents in the audience of how to be more supportive and definitely listening instead of hearing their child, so they can not be so critical of what that child is going through, just like we would in another adult?
That was perfect. So, what was that? Listen and hear, and don't be critical.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Pretty much that's it. When we talk to kids, don't be dismissive. That's one of those things that when it comes to kids that I have, I've come across this in treating kid patients, or not patients, kid clients, a lot, and it's basically the anxiety comes from not being included in the conversation.
Yeah.
The anxiety comes from, seeing that there's a problem and not being able to do anything, because kids are powerless.
Yeah.
And what's worse is that when the people who are in charge of them are not doing what seems so obvious.
Ooh,
It's, if you are in an abusive situation, and yes, it's technically an extreme, but it's a real situation. If you're in an abusive situation, whether it's physical, mental, financial, all of the different kinds of abuse, when you're in an abusive situation and your kid is seeing this, they know something is wrong.
Yeah.
But what's worse is you are showing them not only what kind of treatment to accept or how to treat other people, but you are putting them in a position of powerlessness, because they're going to want to help. They're going to want to save mommy. They're going to want to save daddy. They're going to want to save whatever that denomination you represent.
Right.
And they will be able to do nothing. And that is the message that they will carry with them into adulthood. Powerlessness. It is so important that we recognize not necessarily hurt people, yada, yada, yada. Because, yes, that's a thing. But growing up and learning the language of powerlessness creates an intergenerational situation of powerlessness. So they're not just going to accept that kind of, not only are they going to potentially accept that kind of abuse or inflict that kind of abuse on their significant others, they're going to accept it from their friends. They're going to accept it from their bosses. They're going to accept it throughout the rest of their lives, because being powerless is regular for them, is quote unquote normal.
Yeah.
So we create a normal for them, and then they don't know how to recognize what is actually okay. It's like speaking a language. If you speak nothing but one language in your home every day, the first time they hear another language, it's going to be like, what is that? They're not going to understand. So if the only language they speak or see or experience at home is violence, is aggression, is discontent, is anger, the first time, the second time, the third time, they encounter love, they encounter compassion, they encounter open and honest communication, they are not going to know what to do with that. They will not be able to recognize it. They will need a secret decoder ring to understand what is happening. They'll know that that feels right or feels good, because let me fix that. It's not going to feel right to them. It's not going to feel like something they can trust, because that is not their norm. If you speak the same language to someone over and over again, whether that's in word or deed, that is the language they are going to understand from you. And especially as parental units, especially as foundation building units, the language that we speak has to be love.
Yes.
Has to be peace, has to be compassion, has to be whatever, I'm going to touch you. Comfort. has to be, I'm going to touch you because I don't touch without permission.
There you go.
Okay?
And
It has to
take
be
that by
recommended.
note. Touch,
Mhm.
consent.
Right.
Touch, consent.
And I actually asked, but I paused to give them a chance to say, please don't. But
Mhm.
so,
You gotta get consent.
okay, but this has to be a thing. This has to be something real. This has to be something that they get to experience so that they understand that compassion, that caring, that adoration, that emotional context is okay. That open, honest, emotional communication is okay. That it doesn't have to be from violence, where the feelings that the touch that they experience isn't violence is an important thing. The first touch a kid gets, or the first communication a kid gets in the morning, should not be you yelling at them. I'm not necessarily here to tell you how to parent your kids. I know the kids can be frustrated. But if you wake up, you as an adult wake up, and the first thing you hear is somebody yelling at you, how is that going to affect your day?
You'll get up yelling and be in a bad mood.
If the first thing you hear is, oh my God, I can't stand when you, whatever comes after that, that is going to paint the picture for the rest of your day. That is going to be the language of your day.
I mean, that can even be extended into the workday as for adults. Because like for me and my team, I'm like, when I walk in the door, don't hit me with nothing crazy, like, because I don't want to start there. Let me at least get my feet in there.
Yeah. Let me at least sit down.
Yes.
Turn on the computer and log in before you, and then allow me at least to sip my coffee. If you drink coffee or tea or water, let me at least get 3 sips in before you say something.
Jump in with an emergency. But no, yeah, I mean, that's so important for kids. Because then, you don't want
it's
them
important for humans.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really what I'm going for.
Yeah.
Treat your kid the way how you want to treat yourself.
Yes.
If you know you don't want to get yelled at first thing in the morning, then that should be your thought. Let me not yell at this kid first thing in the morning.
Right.
If you know you don't like it when your boss affects your emotional health with their empty baby incubator, I am not co-signing on that message at all. But if that's something that you don't like, don't do that to your kid. Don't do that to your significant other. Don't do that to your best friend. Let the first thing that come out of your mouth to your friend, hey, how's your day treating you? Before you go into, girl, let me tell you about my day.
Yes.
Because you don't know what kind of day that they're having.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then get consent. So I am having a day. Do you have a minute?
A lot of times you may hear people say, do you have the spoons for this? Are you in a good place for me to talk to you? Because that person may be have 0 spoons, all they got is knives. And you come at them and then they're gonna come with you with them knives.
That will be the day that they choose violence because you decided that you didn't care what kind of day they had. And let me tell you, even as a mental health professional, when I am having a stressful day, I have to stop. There have been a few times, I'm confessing now, I'm going to apologize in advance. There have been a few times where I have been sitting at my computer getting ready to do a Zoom, feeling some type of way about stuff going on in my life, and then just sitting there knowing that the person is waiting to get into my room, my Zoom room, and I'm just like, let me take a second. And I let them wait for another minute. Why? Because I can't be there for them
Right.
if I don't take a moment to recenter for myself. I remember one specific time, and I'm not even going to mention which client it was, but there was one specific day where I didn't take that moment, and I have made sure to take that moment ever since, very early. And I'm sitting there with my client, and the session was going okay, but at one point the client says, well, I'm having this problem, and they describe the problem, and I'm just like, what the hell are you telling me for? What am I supposed to do about it? And then I was like, oh, wait, I'm the therapist here. Like, I had to stop and collect myself real quick because I was a regular human being in that moment. Like, why are you telling me this? Like, I got like 50 million things going on right now. Why are you telling me your problems? And then I had to remember, oh, yeah, that's my job.
Yeah.
Okay. That's don't do that. Don't make your friends, whose job technically it is not,
Yes.
to be there for you at that moment, choose violence.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Let's see. JD mentioned, he's
The
like,
delivery is on point.
don't give me no spoon. I got knife. I got a knife. I like it. He said it would be a good shirt. But we're also hearing from Tony. He says Moana and Dana are always giving us good information and entertainment that we need. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Hopefully, I can also deliver this mental health stuff in an entertaining fashion.
Yes,
Exactly.
Because it can get real boring and sad.
Exactly.
Especially we talking about depression.
Yes.
So,
And of course, with that, I know we are going a little bit over, but we did want to make sure we get this information. And as you see from the bottom, please follow Shae on her social media for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Rain O Change. Especially if you feel you are, as you heard, she does Zoom. If you feel you are in the place that you need to go ahead and book a session with a therapist, reach out to her saying, "Hey, I would like to find out how I can book a session with you via Zoom, via Teams, whatever you have. That way, you can have that conversation, especially if you feel like you are tapping into depression."
and of course, if you specifically need someone who can see you in person, we can see about even doing the research to find where you can go to get what you need at a cost that you can afford.
Exactly. And there's a lot of options out there. So please, if you can't talk, you feel like you are not comfortable to talk to your loved ones, please contact Shae at her social media and say, "Hey, I need to talk to someone. I need to find out how I can talk to someone," whether it's, like she said, doing a Zoom session with her or setting up a session in person with someone in your town that you can go and talk to. Now, of course, we're getting at the end of time. We're going to be getting ready to go to our next session. And of course, as you see here, we always do something for the Moana Nui podcast of doing a giveaway for those that have been interactive in our podcast. So I'm multitasking. I just don't know. My computer is getting its work in today. So we're getting ready to do our little giveaway for everybody that's been interactive in our podcast today. So let us go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and hit that. Okay. All right. And let's see. Is it not picking up from the other accounts?
I don't know.
Okay.
We'll go with what we got.
We're going to, okay, that's all we can do. All right, so we're going to go ahead and share so y'all can see who our lucky winner is for this session. And our lucky winner for today is Tony. Congratulations, Tony. All right, please definitely send us a message on Moana Nui on our Facebook or Instagram, or to Moana with your mailing address. If you're in the U.S., if you're not in the U.S., please give us your email address so we can send you some digital content. But we'll definitely send you your prize pack after Ranger stopping by. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We have an 8:30 p.m. session in about 13 minutes. We are going to be talking on the topic of interracial dating. So please tune in. We have a nice panel of people that are going to be part of it. If Shae wants to stay and be part of it,
stay and watch.
Okay, so she's going to stay and watch. So definitely, yeah, I did notice it didn't include Twitch people. Yeah, so we got to find out why.
Figure out that.
So we're going to do some research, and we'll make sure this is working. So we make sure our Twitch people are definitely in the drawing and everything. But definitely tune in about 13 minutes for our interracial dating. If you know someone who
could definitely use listening to this session, please tell them to go to our YouTube page, our Twitch page, or our Facebook page so they can watch the replay on this particular topic, so they can take this information that we talked about today. But thank you everybody for tuning in. Moana, any last words?
Oh, thank you guys for joining us, and I'm really excited to have Shae with us every last Thursday of the month. So next month, September, we will continue this conversation, because I think we were just kind of skimming the surface as always.
Yes.
But yes, I hope you guys got everything from it, and please hit that share button.
Exactly. And of course, if you need more personal conversation regarding this topic, please contact her so you can book a session and she can talk one-on-one, so she can have that confidentiality with you that you deserve and you need for something like this topic. Yep. And if it's your child, book a session, have them have that conversation, because they may not talk to you, but they can talk to someone else about how they're feeling. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see y'all in 12 minutes. Aloha. And I'm trying to multitask again. Bye, everybody.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can't keep history on the shelf. If they won't tell it, we will.
If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then, when they annexed Hawaii and called it feudal lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves a republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language was banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand,
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No regard for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.
So if you put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course, versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course, cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe as a part of their ongoing war with Asia. Used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No regard for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.
Hey, congratulations.
Yeah.